I want to tell you how one tiny 33-page book that I wrote in 2 weeks has made over $395,000 over the past 5 years, replacing my income and then some. That book is the reason I don't have a job or work with clients anymore. It's given me the life of my dreams, and if you dream of making a full-time income from your books and other e-products, I'd love to help you create this life for yourself. That's what this video is about. Maybe you've already written some books of your own, or maybe you've always wanted to, but you keep procrastinating. Either way, you've probably run into the same thing. Writing a full-length book takes a lot of work, and selling it is even harder. Most self-published books sell fewer than 100 copies in the entire life of the book, including the author's mom, aunties, and cats. Most of my early books were like that, despite pouring my heart and soul into writing them. Give us a like if you can relate. So, why was my book different? This wasn't some huge masterpiece. It's only 33 pages long, and yet it sold over 13,000 copies and brought in over $395,000. Of course, I made sure it's a really good book and genuinely helps my readers. That's absolutely necessary, but it's not enough. I had written other books that were also really good and helped readers, but none of them make me more than $60 a month. The difference is, I wrote those books to change readers' lives. I wrote this one to change readers' lives and change mine. This is the part where I could act like I totally knew what I was doing and had it all thought out from the start, but the truth is, I bumbled into my success. In 2018, my business was entirely service-based. I was working with clients who wanted to publish books. They'd come to me with a manuscript, and I'd edit it, design the cover, format it, and get it ready to release. I loved working with writers and helping them achieve their dreams of becoming a published author. And I loved having different projects all the time. I loved my work, and I found it rewarding and inspiring. The only problem is I was working way too hard. I had already had one breakdown in 2014 when I got so burnt out I couldn't work at all. In 2018, I was still working really hard, and that year, it seemed like nothing was going my way. When my water heater broke that spring, I couldn't afford a replacement, so I spent 5 months taking cold showers. I like to imagine my life as a hero's journey, and this was the part where the struggle builds to a climax. And then two things happened. I got one prospect after another wanting me to build e-courses for them, so I'd write the proposal. The math would be such a no-brainer, I'd be sure they'd sign, but everyone declined to hire me. The more of these proposals I wrote, the more convinced I became that these people were insane not to do it. And the second thing that happened is I got a letter from my old university job saying I had been gone too long and I had to move my retirement account somewhere else. It was enough to live on for 5 or 6 months, and I started realizing that all those proposals had actually been for me. So I took the retirement money and hired myself to build an e-course empire for myself. But as I was learning how to do this, I stumbled upon one twist that changed my life forever. A Facebook ads expert was talking about how he sold $1,000 courses. He found this trick where, if you sell people a mini product first, your cost per sale goes way down when people buy the big course. I decided to try it, so I spent 2 weeks creating a mini product, which was the tiny book I keep mentioning. When I started selling it, it sold so well, I forgot all about trying to sell the big e-course. For the first year, I just sold the tiny book. That's it. And it brought me enough to live on. Suddenly, I had way more money than I had before, and I was working so much less. I could hardly believe it, especially after 5 months of cold showers the year before. So let me tell you what I discovered. The first key is the tininess itself. I always thought more was better, but this tiny book was focused on only one thing: launching a book to bestseller. It was only 33 pages, so buyers could read it in an afternoon and start taking action. The tininess was good for me too. I've always been a fast writer, but this book didn't take me weeks to finish. Because it was so short, I was able to bang it out in a day or two. I didn't know in advance whether it was going to work, so time was of the essence. The second key is having a clear, well-defined outcome that people already understand and want. I could have made my tiny book about how to write your book, or how to make it a bestseller. Those are both super sexy outcomes that people already desire. I chose the bestseller one. Eventually, I'll do how to write the book too. But other times, I've done other topics, like how to make sure your book will sell, or how to write a book that attracts clients. Those both flopped because they're not sexy. People don't know they need them. They're too caught up in writing the book and becoming a bestseller. Picking the sexiest outcome you can think of is the most important key to this whole thing. If you get that part wrong, nothing else matters. The third key is picking a topic that naturally leads to the rest of your work. For me, I was trying to sell a course on writing a book that brings in clients for your business. So I didn't get this 100% right. My tiny book is the bestseller launch blueprint, and by the time most people buy it, they've already written their books. But a few still buy the course anyway, and luckily the tiny book has been so successful itself that the big course doesn't matter as much. But ideally, your tiny book would help readers solve one problem early in the process. So when they're done, they're ready to go on to your main offer, whether that's a coaching program, a done-for-you service, or a more in-depth e-course. The fourth key, which probably goes without saying, is it has to be good. If your tiny book gives people the information they need and helps them get a result quickly, they'll love it and want more from you. You want them to feel like the information they got was worth at least 10 times what they paid for it. Then they'll be like, I got all this value from this mini product, just imagine what's in the bigger programs. Whereas if you save the good stuff for your higher ticket offerings, you don't establish yourself as someone who delivers great stuff and results, so the whole system falls apart. Finally, the last key is setting up your tiny book to create a flywheel effect in your business. As your tiny book sells, every buyer goes on your email list. That quickly builds you a list of buyers. For example, in my first year with my tiny book, I went from 459 subscribers to almost 4,000 in the first year. And those aren't people who signed up for a freebie or watched a webinar. They're people who took out their wallets and bought my work. There are two major differences between leads versus buyers. First of all, leads show up for free stuff. Some of them go on to spend money later, but most of them just sit around and look for more free stuff. Whereas someone who buys things tends to buy more things. They're the kind of people who are willing to pay to get the information or solutions they need. That's the kind of people you want on your email list. And secondly, when people pay for something, they're much more likely to actually open it and use it. Your freebie could deliver tomorrow's lottery ticket numbers, and still most people who sign up for it will never open it. But when people buy your tiny book, they tend to read it. And that's when they can actually get results. The real purpose of this system is to help people get results, so they know you're a person who can help them. They've already experienced it. So then, when you offer something else, there's a good chance they'll sign up and buy that too, and you can help them even more. My tiny book hit all these marks, and that's why it's been so successful. If you'd like a quick summary of this system so you can implement it yourself, drop a comment, and I'll send it to you. And that's not even the end of the story. Wait till you hear what this book did next. I wasn't even trying to get more clients when I released it, but it helped people so much. I had people writing in all the time, wanting to work with me. I finally trained 10 people in my process, so I'd have someone to refer all the business to. It's also made tons of back-end sales. The book itself has sold over $395,000, and that's amazing. But what's even better is all the back-end sales. Over the years, I've created other courses and programs, and I offer them to my email list of tiny book buyers. Those sales have added up to over $600,000, bringing my business over the $1 million mark in less than 5 years. But most importantly, my tiny book took me from being someone who couldn't afford a water heater to the life of my dreams. As much as I love my clients, I love working on my own projects even more. I get to follow my inspirations and make whatever I want. My work life consists mostly of creating, and I'm not working 24/7 anymore. The extra money has bought me spaciousness. I do yoga, I walk in the woods, I get enough sleep. Days go by when I don't know or care what time it is. I never wear real pants. In August, I visited my parents for a month. Nobody was sick. There was no emergency. I just wanted to, so I did. And I stayed in a nice ski condo so we could all be happy and enjoy our time together without getting in each other's hair. That may be the richest I've ever felt. And in September, I got pneumonia and couldn't work for 2 months. But my tiny book kept selling and making me money. I can't tell you how much it meant when I was sick to have my business still supporting me and running without me. Now, I need to tell you that these are not typical results. By 2019, when I got this working, it had already been 8 years since I quit my job, and I learned a lot in that time. I've invested over $50,000 in coaching and training so I can get better results in my business. But more importantly, I actually implemented what I learned and put it out there. Most people never finish anything. Most never even start. That's a typical result, and it's such a waste. If you do it right, a tiny book can change your life, and nobody ever wished they started later. That's why I'm offering a live program to guide you through building your own tiny book and getting your first sales in 2 weeks. I want you to finish this and start getting results. We'll start January 6th, so you have a little time to get your bearings after New Year's. And if you're interested, check out the link in the description. I'd love to have you. And if you want more insider information about going from 0 to 6 figures with a tiny book, watch this video next. You'll hear one piece of expert advice you've probably heard a million times, and how I proved it wrong. You'll hear my advice for people just starting out. Even if you're where I was when I started, no name recognition, no following, no fan base, no past sales of this product, and no relevant email list. And you'll see for yourself how I developed a secret crush on Scott Moran from Samcart. It's one of my favorite videos of all time, so check it out.